am going to, we talk about the minor prophets, the major prophets, we talk about the law. But I'm going to talk about one of the books of poetry tonight. And the one I'm going to talk about is one of King Solomon's love stories. And I'm going to talk a little bit about it. And I named it, I call it this. When everything is going good, up pops the little foxes. I thought that was kind of interesting. Let me look into his love story, of you can call it the poetry, the love book that he have, which is the Psalm of Solomon. And I got to looking through it, and I got to reading through it, and I said, it's interesting about that whole book of the Psalm of Solomon. It seemed like throughout that whole book, he was looking for something, and she was looking for something. And I got to the point, well, okay, then, let's find out. When you get through the first 1 and 2 chapters, then you jump to the 3rd chapter, and all of a sudden you find them looking for something. It's like they're searching for something that they had. It's like somebody missed something. When you're building a house, if you miss one particular area, the whole house is out of whack. And when you get all finished, you probably figure out, where did I go wrong at? So I got to looking at the Psalm of Solomon. I said, well, you know what? Let me find out, where did maybe Solomon make his mistake at? Where was it that threw everything off, that he would be searching and looking for his beloved? And in the 6th chapter, he said there was 60 rings and 80 concubines. He said, that's how many it was. And all of them was looking for this one. And I'm going, well, Solomon, that's your first mistake. You had too many. And everybody was trying to find that one. But before you get to that chapter, I began to kind of go through and I said, now, let's find out a few things. In Psalms 2:15, the speaker said, catch for us the foxes. Then he said, the little foxes. Then he said, that runs the vineyard. Our vineyard that are in bloom, it's ready. It's that season when we worked on it, we worked on our emotions, we worked on our feelings, we worked on our prayer life for so long. And we are ready to bloom in God. We are ready to explode in God. And all of a sudden, somebody said, get the foxes. Get the little foxes. Get the things that going to hinder us. But he said, it might seem strange that in the middle of a romance story, the matter of a fox hunter should arise. As with much of the Psalm of Solomon, in this beautiful portrait love story, the foxes are a symbol. In this love story, the foxes became almost the main character in this love story. In ancient time, wild animals was often used to represent problems. For example, in Israel, it was the foxes. Foxes represent a problem when it comes to Israel. And I wrote, today it's called sin. Sin is our little foxes. Whatever sin it is, it's sin. It become our little foxes. But then it said, now get this, number one, foxes runs in packs. Okay? Foxes runs in packs. You don't see many foxes running by themselves, do you? And I wrote, sometimes so do problems. Sometimes when problems come, it's not just one problem, it's 4 or 5 problems that come at one time. And we say, God, why? Why so many? Because sometimes problems runs in packs. And then I said, things happen in our lives out of nowhere. Things just happen. And we call those little foxes. So understand this, that when something in your life happens, be ready to face something else if it comes up. Don't just focus on that one thing, because that one thing might be a sign of other things to come. And how many times you heard people say, God, why so many issues at one time? So now after tonight, you don't have to ask God that no more. After tonight, you'll be prepared for anything that happens. You'll be ready for it. Because I just told you. Problems comes in packs sometimes. You ask, well, God, why this and why that? Song of Solomon, verse 2. Now, chapter 2 to me is where all of his issues started at, was in chapter 2. Chapter 2, verse 10 says, my beloved spake and said unto me, rise up, my love, my fair one, and come away. See, they hadn't seen each other for a while because they didn't have cell phones like we do. You know, they didn't have all the things that we have. So when it come to be one a month, they were separated. And they didn't see each other until that following autumn to summertime. So meanwhile, they had no communication. You know, but then it's coming to the time where it says, for lo, the winter is past, the rain is over and gone. The flowers appear on the earth. The time of the singing of birds is come, and the voice of the teller is heard in our land. And that word teller means it's like a pigeon that sings. The fig tree putteth forth of green figs, and the vines with the tender grapes give a good smell. Arise, my love, my fair one, and come away. Because we've been so separated for so long. He's writing his love letter saying, it's time for us to be reunited. It's time to see each other again. It's time to pick up where we left off at. And he's telling us this. And the next phrase he said this, oh, my dove, that are in the cliffs of the rock, and the secret place of the stars. Let me see thy countenance. Let me hear thy voice. For sweet is thy voice, and thy countenance is calm. In other words, it's lovely. I hadn't seen you for a while. I hadn't heard you for a while. And I begin to lose focus at how beautiful you really are. And this chapter is so romantic. It's like, what is going on, Solomon? But then all of a sudden, something happens. Take up the foxes, the little foxes that spoiled the vine. For our vines had tender grapes. He was telling them all these love things, all the beauty, all the calm. And all of a sudden, he stopped and said, but wait a minute. Let's make sure we don't have no issues in our relationship. Let's make sure that the foxes can't mess with us. Because what foxes does is they get into the garden, they lack certain fruits, and they be digging up on the vines, and they tear up the vines. And in us life, it's issues that we have to deal with. We might not like somebody. We might not get along with somebody. We might not be praying like we're supposed to. We might not be faithful. But these are little foxes that in the midst of your relationship with God, they can pop up. And he's saying, listen, we need to get rid of these little foxes, because if we don't, they will spoil the vine. They will make life so miserable. And he said, the Amplified said, catch the foxes for us. The little fox that spoil and run the vineyard of love while our vineyard are in bloom. When your relationship with God is at its highest peak, you need to make sure that it's no little foxes that gets into your relationship that will separate you from God or from your loved one. Because this is not your relationship with God, it's also your relationship with each other. And that little fox can get in there and cause all kinds of a problem. And what Solomon is saying, he's saying, we love each other. But Solomon, you letting the little foxes get in. The other women become little foxes that they weren't supposed to be in there. The relationship with the other 60 or the 999, that's a little fox. The 1,000 concubines, that's a little fox, Solomon. What happened here? You got away from chapter 2 and you started living the life outside of when you called me to be your loved one. Because after this chapter here, he began to look for her. He began to call for her. He began to wonder what happened to her. And all of our walk with God, sometimes we need to stop. And maybe our relationship with God is not what it used to be. We need to find out what little fox got in the way. You see, this is the thing about a love story. It has a beginning. It has a middle, and it has an ending. Now, that same love in the beginning should be more powerful in the end. If it's not, you got a little fox somewhere. And you need to find out, what is that little fox? What was that got in the way, Solomon? What got in the way of your relationship with your loved one? It's 999 plus 1,000, right? That got in the way of his relationship. And God can ask you tonight, what is that maybe have got in the way of your relationship with him? Or maybe your relationship with each other. But see, this love story was put in there for a purpose. I'm not trying to figure out who she was or what her nationality was. I don't care about that. I'm concerned about the issue that separated them. See, God don't care about your ethnicity or your. God is concerned about what is keeping you from him. And what I'm concerned about, what was keeping Solomon from his loved one? The little foxes. It's the little foxes in our walk that we better be concerned about. It says, it's a wise and beautiful verse. The vineyards are in bloom. The romance is alive and growing and preparing to bear fruit. But there is a need to round up the foxes. All potential threats to the relationship must be removed. What all potential of threats to a relationship must be removed. Because if they're not removed, it's going to be an issue. The foxes are little. It is the little things, the things that we overlook, that often spoil things of value. See, we overlooked prayer this morning. We overlooked being in service tonight. We overlooked doing the things we're supposed to do because it's small. So we don't care about it like we used to. In other words, you was persistent to be in church on time, but now you're not consistent to be here on time. It's the little things that separate you from your love. And I'm going to say this, it's the little things that can separate you from your blessings. It's the little things that can keep God from really doing for you what he really wants to do for you. And the thing is that whether Solomon realized it or not, he lost it. And he went out through the city, through the rest of the chapters, he went out through the city looking for his love. We don't want to go through the rest of our lives in church trying to find God. We want to spend the rest of our life going to church trying to get closer to God. Not to find out why we used to be, but to have a relationship better than we had before. So in other words, God have to become your lover. Because if God don't become your lover, then what little fox is? What little fox is taking his place? The bad news with Solomon is all the ones he had couldn't take the place of that one. And how many times in our lives do we really underestimate the power and the love and the goodness of God? We underestimate it. We find excuses. We find reasons. Now, I can imagine when Solomon was sitting there with his love. I mean, instead of him paying attention to her, he might have been looking at something else. Instead of holding her hands, he might have been holding somebody else's hand. Instead of spending those few moments with her, he was probably spending them with somebody. But it came a point in his life that it was no longer there. And when it was gone, what they were saying, you never know what you had until it's gone. There's a lot of people out there in the world never knew how good God was to them until they got out there and couldn't get back. Because, see, people that I can leave church and come back when I want to, that's not true. The Bible said that no man cometh to God except God brought him back. So you can walk into church all you want, and that does not mean you're feeling God. Why? Because you lose that relationship. And Solomon is a good example to us that if we lose that one special relationship, we can go through the rest of our lives looking for it. We can go through the rest of our lives seeking for it, trying to find it in something else. Because in the 6th chapter, he only had something like 60 friends and like I think 80 concubines. He was a lot shorter than what he could have had, right? So that means that he had a lot of more numbers after that to come up with 1,000 wives and all that other things. So when you miss your real love, when you miss the one who really died for you on the cross, then what are you going to replace him with? What are you going to replace him with? Solomon could not replace her with nothing. He sought, he seeked, and all of the lovers he had, all of the wives he had, he couldn't replace that one. And let me tell you something. All the relationships that you may have in the world, all of the people you run with in the world, if you lose God, you have lost everything. And Solomon has given us an example of this. And in the Psalm of Solomon, he's given us an example of this. What he's telling us is don't lose what you had. Don't take it for granted. That might look better, but it's not better. That might seem better, but it's not better for you. Then he says, maintain a good relationship with the Lord takes work. I'm going to say that again. Maintaining a good relationship with the Lord takes work. You just can't get up and say, I got a good relationship with God. You got to put forth some effort. See, Solomon didn't put forth no effort. If he would have put forth more effort, he'd have probably been only married to one woman. He wouldn't need nobody extra. But what happened? He didn't put forth the effort that he was supposed to put forth. What he was doing was he was with her, but his mind wasn't there. And how many times you sat in God's house, but your mind is not there? Your mind is somewhere else. And Solomon got tied up in all the rest of the things around him, that the one love of his life slipped away. And he says, the lover must address potential danger to their relationship and remove all threats of their love and salvation, as they might pay close attention to the little things. Then the lover will be free to continue to pursue marriage and a life of joy and peace. Now you say, why are you putting marriage to pastor? Because you have to marry him in order to have the love and the peace that you need. If you don't marry him, there's no joy. If you don't marry him, there's no peace. If you don't marry him, there's no relationship. And people don't seem to understand that. A relationship is two people that become one. And people think, well, I just go to church, that's a relationship. Oh, no. Just going to church ain't no relationship. If that was the case, then I just go to the house and leave. But a relationship starts in the house. Oh, I didn't want to get into Judges. I wanted to stay with my relationship with Solomon. I wanted to talk about Solomon. We all read about him. If you haven't read the Song of Solomon. Read all 9 chapters of it, I think it is. Read it. And when you get beyond the 2nd chapter, then you'll say, Solomon, why didn't you not take care of the little foxes in the beginning of your relationship? So you wouldn't have to deal with them in the end. If you would have started praying when you first come to God, you wouldn't have to learn how to pray at the end of your relationship with God. If you was faithful at the beginning of your relationship with God, then you would be faithful at the end of your relationship. Because it said that he went through the city asking people, have you seen my love? Do anyone know what have happened to her? But you see, those 999 foxes took her. The 1,000 took her. And because of that, that little fox caused the smartest man in the Old Testament, the wisest man in the Old Testament. And he had a relationship with God in the beginning. He had a relationship with God in the beginning. But something stole that relationship. And we're going to call it, everything is going good. And up pops the little foxes. Everything is going good in our lives. And all of a sudden, up pops a little fox that we did not take care of. And you know the thing about Samson is foxes cause him a lot of problems. See, we read about Samson and Bathsheba. Not Bathsheba, what was her name? Delilah. Thank you. But way before Delilah, there was another love in Samson's life. She was also a Philistine. And she is the one that caused the war between Samson and the Philistine. Because it says that he went down and he seen this woman And he loved this woman. He loved to the point that he went back up and he told his dad and his mom, go get her for me. And his dad said, why can't you find one of your own brethren? He said, no. You haven't seen her. So his mom and dad went down in order to ask her family if their daughter could marry their son. And it said that Samson proposed a riddle to her family. And the riddle that he asked them, he asked them what he said. And Samson, I don't really, but he said, what is it that is great and what is that has power? And they could not get an answer. So what did they do? They went to her, and this is what they said. And it came to pass on the seventh day that they said unto Samson's wife, entice thy husband, that he might declare unto us the riddle, lest we burn thee in thy father's house with fire. If you don't get the answer, we're going to burn her dad's house, and we're going to burn you all too. And it was not so. And Samson's wife wept before him and said, thou dost but hate me, and lovest me not. Thou hast put forth a riddle unto the children of my people, and hast not told it to me. And he said unto her, behold, I have not told it my father nor my mother. And shall I tell thee? He said, why would I tell you when I've not even told my mom or dad what the answer is? So give me a reason why I should tell you what the answer is. Up pops the fox. And she wept. How that fox is. A man can't stand to see a woman shed tears. And she wept before him 7 days. Anybody that weep before you 7 days, you got to tell them something. For 7 days, while their feast lasted, and it came to pass on the 7th day that he told her, because she laid sore upon him. And she told the riddle to the children of her people. That little devil. And the men of the city said unto him on the 7th day, before the sun went down, what is sweeter than honey, and what is throner than a lion? And he said unto them, if ye had not plowed with my heifer. It's amazing how they talk back then, isn't it? If you would not have plowed with my heifer. In other words, he simply said, why would you mess with my wife, D.P.? If you wouldn't have messed with her, then you would have never knew what the answer was. Ye had not found out my riddle. And isn't it amazing that he knew that she had told him? He knew that she had told him. But I like the way they worded. If ye had not plowed with my heifer. Now you tell somebody today, they'll be ready. You be ready to go to Knuckle City. you call a woman that today, you be ready to fight. Now you go down there to Louisiana in Texas and all that, they'll know Brother Donald what that is. Know what I'm saying? They'll know it was a cow. Not that he was calling her a cow. not that he was calling her a cow, okay? But it sounds like it, doesn't it? Oh. But then it said, but his fight with the Philistines, this is when it all started. Before then, he was not fighting with them. But this is when his whole battle with the Philistines began, was because of her. It said that, and the Spirit of the Lord came upon him, and he went down to Ekron, and slew 30 men of them, and took their spoils, and gave change of garment unto them which expound the river. And his anger was kindled. And he went up, know why he went to? He went up to his father's house. In other words, he couldn't stand to see her no more. In other words, he wanted to get away from her. So what did he do? He went home. But the problem was, after he went up and had a good prayer meeting and got his thoughts together, he still loved her. So he went back and he asked in the next chapter, the 16th, he went back and he asked his to-be father-in-law, why is my wife? And he gave him bad news. He said, you can have a sister. He said, what I want a sister for? He said, because we gave her to someone else. And he was upset. See, that's why the verse said, don't let the sun go down on your wrath. If he would have prayed before he went home to dad, he might still have her. That's why the Bible tells us. Don't it not tell us, if you get in an argument with your spouse, don't let the sun go down on your wrath before you make it right? Because if you wait 2 or 3 weeks, she might not be there when you come back. So the point is that I don't know how long he was gone, but anyway, when he came back, they had already gave her to somebody else. And he was upset because they gave her to someone else. And this is what he did. And Samson went and caught 300 foxes. Now, let me tell you something. Remember I told you, foxes runs in packs. So we don't know how many was in one place when he caught them all, okay? I just kind of make things, but man, he wouldn't have caught all these one by one. He might caught all of them in a cave somewhere and locked them in so they couldn't get out. But anyway, he caught 300 foxes and took firebrands and tied their tails together and put the firebrand in the midst between 2 of them and set them out through the cornfields and the harvest of the Philistines. They burned up everything. And this was the beginning of the war between Samson and the Philistines. This was the beginning of the war. And what we have to remember is it all started over foxes burning up the cornfield. But the main purpose was they gave the woman away that he loved. So Delilah was not his first love. That was his last love, but she wasn't his first love. His first love was still a Philistine that he loved. And because they gave her to someone else, it caused him a battle with the Philistines for the rest of his life. Now, we're going to stop. What time we have? This on 8:30? Oh, we can continue. This is Peter. This is Peter, the one who said, repent and be baptized, everyone. This is Peter. And this is Peter addressing the people throughout the regions of the country of Judah, of Israel. All this he's telling them. He says, wherein ye greatly rejoice. Thou now for a season. He said, rejoice now for a season. If need be, ye are in heaviness through manifold temptations. In other words, he's saying that you're going to be going through a whole lot of trials and tests. So you need to rejoice. Don't let the foxes take your glory. Don't let the foxes get next to you because you're going through situations. He said there are going to be manifold, there are going to be many of them. And you need to learn how to rejoice going through these different trials and tests. Learn how to rejoice. Because when you learn how to rejoice going through them, then that fox can't take what God has for you. But if you don't learn how to rejoice, then the fox can take the glory of what God has to give you because you never make it through the test. You know, the thing about running, when you start running these 5Ks and 10K races, it's not how fast you run it. The fact that you finish it. But it's also the fact that you don't cheat to finish it. You know what I'm saying? There are people that have started to run this race with God, and things might have got rough for you. Things might have got hard for you. It might not have been what you thought it was going to be. But Peter is telling the people throughout the country, listen, understand something. He said he's coming back. Don't give up hope. Don't give up the thing that God has for you. Don't let the devil, don't let that fox take it away from you. Because if you let the fox take it away, listen, we have come too far to turn around now. We come too far to say this thing ain't real now. Listen, if you have to pluck out an eye to get in, then pluck it out. If you have to get there on one leg, then get to heaven on one leg, because you have two when you get there. If you have to get there, if you have to blind yourself so you don't see the things going on in this world no more, then blind yourself so you can't see it. But you will have visions when you get there. It's better to be blind here than to be blind down there. So he's saying, listen, there's going to be heaviness, and there's going to be all kinds of trials and temptation coming your way. Why, Peter? That the trials of your faith is going to be tested. He said that being much more precious than of gold that perishes, though it be tried with fire, might be found unto praise and honor and glory at the appearance of Jesus Christ. What? That he can find your little faith still hanging in here. He can find that you still have that little hope of saying he's coming back. It doesn't matter how bad it gets. It doesn't matter. Oh, boy, that's Martin Luther King. Been to the mountaintop. It doesn't matter about all this situation. It doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is you stay in the house. The only thing that matters is that your faith is going to be tested. And when your faith is tested, how real is it? How real are you going to stay or are you going to go? And he's saying, listen, all of this stuff is going to come upon you and you're going to be tested. He said, but it's just testing your faith. It's just testing your faith. Are you going to stay in here? Are you going to let it slip out the back door? whom having not seen, right? You're not seeing him, but you love him. And whom thou now you see him not, but yet you believe that he's coming back. Ye rejoice with joy unspeakable and full of glory. Why? Because you haven't seen him, but you love him. You don't know anything else, but you believe that he's coming back. And there's a lot of people that don't believe he's coming back. There are some people who already came back. But I got proof that he haven't came back. We're still here. If we, I pray he ain't came back. Yeah, that's the proof that we have. Know what I'm saying? But Peter is telling us in this last day, in this last time, the foxes are going to raise up in your life, in your situation. And don't let those foxes lead you out of the house of God. It's what he's saying. He said, because you're going to be tested, your faith is going to be tried. Everything you believe in is going to be tested. And when it is tested, are you going to be able to withstand the foxes that are going to be coming down through your field? Or are you going to let them just bury you? But he said, receiving the end of your faith, even the salvation of your soul. He says, of which salvation the prophet have inquired and searched diligently, who prophesied of the grace that should come unto you. He said, listen, the prophets of old searched for what we have. They looked for what we had. They never seen it. They never found it. He said, but you have it. But yet they live for God. Yet they did not give up their faith and their belief in God. And he said, now you have it. Why would you give it up? You got what they were searching for. Why would you let a fox take it away from you? Why would you let anything in this world steal from you what God have given you that they search for? He said, searching what? Of what matter of time the Spirit of Christ, which was in them, did signify, when it testified beforehand the suffering of Christ and the glory that should follow. Unto whom it was revealed that not unto themselves, but unto us, they did minister the things which are now reported unto you by them that have preached the gospel unto you with the Holy Ghost sent down from heaven, which things the angels desire to look into. Wherefore, gird up the loins of your mind and be sober. Or he said, gird up the thoughts of your mind and be steadfast in what you believe. Have some self-control in your life in these last days. Don't get caught up in things that will steal what God have given you that the prophets searched for. Wow. And my friends, I couldn't find a better scripture to end this with. As obedient children, not fashion yourself according to the former lust and your ignorance. As obedient children, not fashion yourself according to the former lust and your ignorance. Hold on, I got nothing. I know I said that was it. But as he, I couldn't leave this out. But as he which have called you. Now you all know I couldn't leave this out, don't you? But I'm going to read it again real slow. But he which have called you is holy. So be ye holy in all manner of your conversation. Now, different versions, some say in your conduct, some say in your behavior. But I love this one because this one said, in all manner of your living. So this do not give you room to itch out of anything. I love that when I seen all manner of living. So however you live, however you live, you have to be holy. No excuses now. You can't say I'm on a break. You have to act right, talk right, look right, spit right. The bishop said, spit right. I wonder sometimes if they might be looking down here. I have to wonder something. Did they actually be looking down here? I can always wonder like that. All the ones that left in, like all our men, like Brother Ernie and El and Brother Ad and all. I wonder if God actually let them sit down there, look down there. I know, I really, I wonder sometimes. Now, I'm not saying all of them is up there in heaven, no, but I believe that somewhere in God's mercy and God's kindness, that God can say, let me show you some of your works that you did. You know? And he said, look down there. And I could see the bishop saying, well, my God, why is so-and-so at? Yeah, I remember I can look down and go, well, my God, what happened to Calvary? Really? Can I get a witness? How many times you got in that pulpit and asked you what's wrong with you? You know? But it said, but be ye holy in all manner of your living. And that's how I'm going to end you. With that right there, he said, but he which have called you is holy, so be ye holy in all manner of your conversations. Your life, your living. Let's live right. Amen. And remember, keep the foxes out of your cornfield. Keep the foxes out of your cornfield. Matter of fact, keep the foxes out of your life. Because they are known to be very destructive animals. They're not all mean. They just dig up everything and tear up everything. In other words, they can tear up your life if you let them. Amen? So let's all stand. I told you that I don't know. Amen. Some people come a long ways, and you can't let them go in no 10 minutes, you know. We have to have testimony on the elders sometimes. You know, when 8:30, we have 30-minute testimony.